Hey guys, this is Lakin here. Lakin, you want to say hi to the folks over there? Yeah, well, we're going to get started on this next video. If she can learn it, you can too, okay? It's just HTML, right? What you doing? What you doing? Okay, go outside and play. Go ride your bicycle. Get ready for this fun stuff. Here we go. This time, you should have uh, completed your CSS, your external CSS, by cutting and pasting and making the CSS link and toggle back and forth like mine is in Dreamweaver right here. So you've got the source code, which is the HTML, and then you have the style sheet on a separate sheet. It'll always be there. Just toggle back and forth when you make those CSS edits. Now, the next thing we promised we were going to do is this middle area, and you guys selected a template that basically has a left and a right half. I'm actually not going to split those right down the middle 50-50 because I think that looks a little bit too symmetrical, but we'll change that later. But what we're going to do is we're going to create one large box, okay? Now, if you can see my cursor, I just basically want a div container that floats in the center. If we want something to float center, we have to tell it to be margin equals 0 pix auto. We'll do that together. And we already designated that style. We just haven't stylized it, but we called this the title. It's after the nav bar. Down here we had the nav bar links. We did that little rule or classification called a vertical bar pad. But here we have content area. Let's go ahead and focus on that for a moment. And I'm going to give it a width. And let's say 1,000 pixels wide, okay? We can change that later, but right now that's fine. Height, and I'm going to have a height that's 500 pixels for a moment. Later, we may change that to auto. We might not. I just want to make sure that your content and my content fits in that. But if I put that 0, if I just put that down to 0, then it's just going to fill up. It's just going to flatten out because there's no content in it yet. And then we want it to be in the middle of the screen. The middle of that area is actually inside, the screen after that. So I'm going to say margin 0 pix auto, okay? And that's the only style I really want to give it at the moment. Well, I want to give one more. I want to give a background color. We're going to change that. Well, actually, let's don't. I'm sorry. There's going to be 2 boxes inside this box. So this is kind of like the header was. We had a logo box floating left. We had the nav bar floating right inside of the header. Here we're going to have the content area with article left. We call it an article, and then article right. We can call it anything we want, but those 2 things are going to float left and right. In our subsequent pages, we're going to get rid of the left and right, okay? We'll just have a content area. So maybe we won't have to do a whole bunch of tricky stylizations. So let's move on over here. Let me give this, just for the time being, I'm going to give it a background color so you can see it. But don't forget, I'm going to make that color go away eventually. Okay, so let me zoom out here. It's not showing yet because in the source code, I don't have a div ID equals content. So I'm doing this. Let me zoom in so you can see that. So in the source code now, left the CSS, the style sheet, I'm in the source code, there's going to be a div ID equals quotation mark, and I'm going to select content. And then it's going to close. I'm going to go ahead and do those articles too, since they're going to come next. ID equals, I did put equals, sorry, equals. There we're going to say article left, and then div ID equals article right. And remember, this is going to be wrapped around these 2. Content, inside the content box is going to be a left box and a right box. So that means I got to grab this closed div. I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to move it after the box on the right, the article right. Just like we did up here in the header, we had a loaded box, nav box. I'm going to indent this or outdent it like this so it looks kind of like what we had above. So you see we had the header, we had a logo box and a nav bar inside of it. This one floated left, this floated right. We're going to have a content area just to give it a basic footprint, and then we're going to have an article left and an article right so they can be side by side each other. After that, we're going to have a footer. I haven't really created a footer yet, but let's go ahead and create that. It's going to be a div id equals footer. We haven't really stylized or created a div for that yet, but we will at some point. All right, we may have one more box down there before the footer. I think you had some kind of thing in your template that you planned out. There was something else, so we'll check that out later. All right, so here we go. We should have that white box appearing. Let me see. Zoom out. Go to live view for a second. It is live view. Did I say background color white? Let me go to my style sheet. Oh, I didn't give it a background color yet. So let me zoom back in here where it said content in the CSS, white. That's what I did wrong, okay? So let's just zoom out, full screen, and just see what's happening for a moment. Now this is about right, okay? So what I'm going to do, this is going to be clear eventually, okay? But we're going to have an area on the left and an area on the right that's going to hold content. And then we're going to have another area here, another box that's going to float here kind of in the middle underneath that. And then we're going to have a footer. And that's going to wrap up this page as far as the general layout. And you're going to stylize it to make it just gorgeous and beautiful for your product and your theme. All right, so now let's stylize these two boxes on the left and the right and get them sized up. And then we'll probably edit and create a second video for the content of this area. So back to split view, and let's go to the article left and right into the CSS. I'm glad you guys can rewind and pause and do whatever else you need to do. Why is this giving me expected colon at lines 52 column 20? Okay, I don't know. Everything is correct there, so I don't know what's wrong. All right, article left, we need to give it a width. Now this is going to be the vertical box or square box, whatever it's going to be on the left side of the content. And right now, I'm just doing math. I made the content area 1,000 pixels so the math would be easy. So it's half as tall as it is wide. So I want it to be a little bit larger than halfway. So I'm going to say 600 pixels wide. We can use percentages if we want to, and we might do that later. So we don't have to do such high math. And then the height, I'm going to go ahead and say 500 as well. And remember, we may come back and adjust these heights and widths as necessary. And I'm going to say float left. Okay, it's going to make it float to the left. And then I want to make sure that I can tell what it is for a moment. I'm going to say background color red. Okay, this is just temporary so I can see if it's really happening. And then I've got an idea what we might do or what I might do on mine, and you can think about it for yours. So that's the left one. I can see it peeking up over here. It's on the left-hand side. That looks good. And then on the right-hand side, let's do the article right stylization. And same thing. Actually, I'm going to just copy and paste all this right here. Except I don't want to be red, I'm going to just call it, let's give it gray. Something else that just shows up. Now, instead of floating left, I want it to float right. And I don't want it to be 600 pixels wide because we want it to be 400. Because 1,000 is 600 plus 400. And let me zoom out and let's look at that for a moment. So full screen, this is what I'm looking for. There is a left side quadrant and then the right quadrant there, and that's not bad at all. I don't have a problem with that. We're going to put some content in here. Of course, we're going to adjust padding, and remember, if you have padding, then things are gonna, you have to subtract from the widths, right? Just remember that if the height of the widths, we got padding, we got to subtract from them. So let's move on from there. I really would like to have a little gap between my menu bar up here and this. So think what I'm going to do I'm going to go to my header. I'm going to tell it to have a margin below. I'm going to go to my CSS, go into the header, and I have no padding right now in my header. I guess I didn't necessarily need it, but let me zoom in so you can see this. By the way, the number 17 is red. It means I really haven't put anything right here for padding. Doesn't mean it's erroneous or anything. It's just warning me that something might be incorrect here. So padding, I want to put margin bottom, and I'm going to say 35 pixels. And notice that pushed this down here. Now I can adjust that however I want. The reason I didn't put margin top on this content area is because I told this to be margin 0 pix auto, which means make it land in the center horizontally. So I don't want to confuse it by having two different margins on it. So I just grabbed the header above and said have a margin below. So if you zoom back out and look at it full screen, yeah, it's not bad. Okay. And then I'm going to add another area down here, and I'm going to make it the same width. And this is going to be that extraneous, that tertiary area before the footer comes in. Like I say, we're just blocking this in right now. In the next video, we'll kind of look at content. I'll throw some in there. And then you're really going to have to just take the week and wrestle with it, make it fit, make it look good. And I think you can do that. All right, so this next area, we've got the article left here, article right. They're both inside the content. So I'm going to create a new style. Zoom in. There's one we haven't created, and I'm not really sure what to call it. Let me clean up my code here a minute. All right. So instead of article left and right, this is going to be a hashtag. I'm trying to think what to call it. I'm going to say promotion. I can't think of another thing. We'll just call it promotion because we're going to have some links to promote 3 different things, which will link to sub pages. Okay, and we're going to say width 1000, just like before. I want it to be in the center. Height. I'm going to change the height to 250 pixels. I don't want it to be too big. Background color, and like I say, all these colors we're going to change because I want some transparencies and things, but yeah, I like that aqua. Let's look at that aqua for a second. That's really going to pop. Woo. And I want it to line in the center, so I'm going to say margin. I'm going to say margin right. Let me do this, okay? I don't know if it'll allow me to do this, but I'm gonna try something, okay? I don't want to say auto all the way around, so I'm gonna say 35 pixels on the top, auto on the right, 35 pixels on the bottom, auto on the left. I don't want to allow me to do that, but I want to look and see if it did that. Now the reason this isn't showing up yet, you want to answer me? I heard somebody say we haven't made a div ID over in the source code. Oh, was that you, Lakin? Anyway, let's go to the source code and make sure that we put over here, down below the article left and article right, another div ID. Equals promotion. Okay, and that's where this container will appear, and you can see the turquoise already peeking through here. All right, this is like a pretty decent layout for the time being, and then we'll have a footer that extends all the way across, and I think we're doing pretty good. Like I say, we will build up on this content. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. I'll try to be as responsive as I can. I'm going to say file save all, and make sure I'm going to check that you're saving this inside your project 3 folder, and yours is called index.html. It's not index boutique, not index 2, -2, like I said many times, because I don't want to delete my first demo, which was index 1. All right. Talk to you again in just a moment.